Silver Doctors Live. Silver Doctors Live on air. It is Wednesday, the 4th day of March. It is 11:01 in the morning. My name is Paul Half Dollar Eberhardt, and joining me over here is my co-host Mike. How you doing this lovely Wednesday morning today, Mike?
I am doing excellent, I must admit. Extremely optimistic, positive in nature, and just excited for things that are ahead of us. So
Silver
that, I'm
Doctors.
doing well, my friend. Looking forward to having some good back and forth today.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. We're going to have some good back and forth because, we created this term yesterday that we're going to start using, right? So we're going to start using this new term. We're going to call it human malware. And I like this definition you came up with it because, when you think about it, human malware, that's something that somebody has to code. Somebody has to program that. Someone has to create malware. So whenever we talk about, COVID-19 and the coronavirus, we'll just start referring it to as human malware because it's fun, because YouTube's going to demonetize anything from us anyway. But so when people hear us say human malware, that's what we're referring to. But you want to take a second to welcome the people in the chat here, Mike?
I will do so. Let me see. Let me scroll up top. We got Chris. We got Bobby. We got Grow Mechanic. We got T.O. We got let me see here. Glenn, Johnny B, Dank. We got Hoop Z. We got Roger. So a couple people out here. So appreciate everybody for taking time to join us.
Yep, that's good.
It should be fun.
Yep, that's good. Special shout out to Glenn. I see the emails. Our inbox has been super full lately, and it's hard to keep up with so much going on. So just know that, people that are writing into us and sending us questions and comments and stuff, we appreciate it and we read it, but we are a little bit behind on that, but we'll catch up here soon. There's just so much going on right now. There's so much going on. And we kind of need to start talking about the trade war again and global trade in general. So I want to start there today, Mike.
All right.
So let me set the stage here for a second. And I'm going to take us back to September of 2018 here. So this is before, this is when the trade war was really ramping up, and it was the whole year of deal, no deal, and it really started there towards the second half and towards the end of 2018 and all of 2019 until just, when was it? January 15th of this year is when actually phase one was finally signed, right?
Yeah.
But, global trade has kind of been slowly collapsing for a couple years now, brought on by the trade wars, and then now really brought on by human malware. Yeah. Look at this. Here's a little press release here from Embassy Freight Services from August. Oh, excuse me, I'm on the wrong one here. Let me go back because I want to bring it back even a little bit further here. So this is from Flexport.com, and this is from September 2018, and they're basically just talking about blank sailing, and they're just talking about an increase in blank sailors and blank sailings. And what that means is, ships are always leaving China and they're making these rounds, right? Like they go to China and they make a couple stops and they end up in Long Beach, right? The port of Long Beach off of California. And then they go back to China and they make their couple stops. What blank sailings are, they just cancel it, right? So it's kind of also like a bus stop where if we had 10 buses stopping at your stop a day, well, now we only got 5. So that's kind of like a blank sailing. So, since 2018, here's fall 2018, there's been increases in blank sailing, meaning ships aren't going, or if they're going, they're not stopping. And that's for two reasons, because there's less demand for shipping, and then also because since there's less demand, they're trying to reduce the number of trips so they can squeeze more stuff on a barge. So there's September 2018. We can go down here. This is the one from 2019. So this is that little press release from Embassy Freight Services. So the fall of 2019. So they're going to be, talking about their blank sailings again. And they had good cover. They had good cover because one of the things they were talking about is they were able to install these scrubbers and alternative fuel systems on the vessels. Because that's the other thing, this whole push for going green and stuff like that. They've been trying to retrofit these ships. I think they're just going out of commission and they're not even retrofitting them because if global trade is collapsing anyway, then why are you going to fix up a ship to keep it, in accordance with the environmentalists, right?
Right.
So then moving along a little bit further here, so this is where I'm drawing this out, but I got to set the stage because the nuclear option is China stopping exports to the United States. But I got to set that stage, so let me keep setting that stage.
Okay.
This is something that got very little press. This is an article that I wrote in October of 2019. And the Trump administration kicked China out of controlling the second busiest port in the United States. And that's actually Long Beach, right? So Long Beach is the second busiest port in the United States. And then this is a little thing reported on. We did talking about a release from Judicial Watch, but a Chinese communist company was set to control the second busiest container port in the United States. They handle millions of containers annually. So that was sold off to so the Long Beach port control was sold to an Australian company. Yeah. So, global trade was collapsing anyway as a result of the trade war. The United States kicked China out of control of Long Beach. Now we've got human malware spreading. And what's happening again? We talked about Maersk about a month ago. I don't know if you remember that, but we talked about
I remember
Maersk.
That. Yep.
Check this out. Here's Maersk. And I was looking at their press releases. Look at all this stuff. I mean, this is just nonstop. So here's something back towards the end of February. Additional blanking. So ships just aren't sailing or they're not going to stop. So here's another one. Additional blanking. Update February 28th. Here's another one. Updates on South Korea because that's affected. Here's another one. Updates on Italy because that's affected. Here's another one just 2 days ago. Additional blanking announced. So, nothing is getting any better when it comes to global trade. Global trade is only collapsing even faster at an accelerating rate, I think. Now, here's what's interesting about that. So, could China stop exporting to the United States? Well, does China really even need the United States at this point, right? We sanction countries all over the world. We have even forced naval embargoes blockading stuff from coming into other countries around the world. China could essentially soft sanction or soft blockade the United States by just refusing to export to us. And what would be the trigger? This also is another article that I wrote in October, kind of around the same time I was writing the article about China losing control of the Long Beach port. But this also got little fanfare. But remember, on the one hand, the Trump administration kicked China out of control of the port, but on the other hand, the SEC is letting China come on into the COMEX and control, gold futures products on the COMEX. So what would be that trigger? That trigger would be when they know you're at that failure to deliver your first majeure, or you're at the point where you can no longer deliver physical gold into the market via the Western markets. And I'm probably rambling and going around in circles and missing out points, so I'm going to stop here and let you ask any questions or put in your thoughts, or if I need to clarify anything so far.
No, so what you're basically saying, the question you basically put out there, plain and simple, is that does China actually need the U.S. moving forward when it comes to international trade? And so this current event we're experiencing is a great disruptor of the current petrodollar system, because once again, that question you put out there, do the China really need to send goods here? And the question is no, because they've already built out the pipeline. The Silk Road Initiative is still already laid out. They have a heavy presence on the continent of Africa. And so the only problem or the only issue would be what form of payment will the other nations have to use in order to do business with China, because China will not be willing and wanting to do anything with the Federal Reserve System. So with that being the case, will there be some type of digital rollout, which is what they're already looking to do now? And I posted an article, or I've shared something on Twitter, I believe, talking about how this current malware situation plays well into the push and adoption for the digital yuan. And so basically the digital yuan is something that, it was initially thought that just the Chinese would have an app on their phone, but in order to do business with China from a consumer standpoint, maybe the rest of the world might also have to have that same app. And then international governments or whatnot would have to do business in gold, but citizens on the app with the digital yuan, could be a major key.
Could be a major key. And, a couple things to think about when we're talking about this, right? Because what we're talking about, and you have the phrase push to digital. And yes, because remember, if global trade was in a trade war and the economy was collapsing already, and now it's being sped up by this human malware, then that can be in conjunction with this reset that everybody knows is coming and everybody is preparing for, right? I mean, if history tells us one thing, it's that currency resets happen. So absolutely, here's something.
And watch this. Currency resets happen. And just looking at the historical timeline of all those shifts, which happened 30, 40 years, whatever the time frame is, we're told, it's always as a result of actual war. And so some nation, the leading nation, last time it was Britain, so they had all the gold sent to the U.S. and U.S. sent goods. Before that, it was French with the French Revolution. So every transition occurs because of war. So it looks like we were not able to get the type of war that the powers that be might want now. So what better way to get this change rolling than to create a war when it comes to humanity with this human malware that will force all nations to participate, because once again, the shift is underway. So everything lines up just right.
Yes, it's a global war against human malware. So here's a few things to think about, right? And here's a couple of the reasons why all of this got me thinking, because we had, I keep going back to that January 20th. We don't even need to bring that up again because we've been talking on this for so many months now. One of the things we talk about were N95 masks. And now I just did a quick eBay search yesterday, and now even hand sanitizers going for bonkers on eBay and selling for multiples higher. Little bottles of hand sanitizer, little isopropyl alcohol mix.
Yeah.
That my daughter likes to get at Bed Bath and Body Works. But anyway, so the point is that we rely on China for tons of raw materials and finished products, right?
Yeah.
And what does China rely on us for? I mean, agriculture. Right, they import our garbage to sift through it, whatever. Right, so we need them. They don't necessarily need us. Look at this. Here's one more statistic I want to pull out real quick. This is from DHL. So this is released 2 days ago from DHL. DHL, for people who don't know, it's kind of like FedEx. This is a German company and they're worldwide. Yeah. They're on the same level in caliber as FedEx. But they put out this market report here talking about shipping. And look at this, right? So remember we had hit on these blank shippings? Here's the market outlook for March in the major trades. And what this is showing is that, carriers are canceling an unprecedented number of sailings, and it's all over the world. So here in the Euro area, we can see in Latin America they're canceling shippings. We can see in North America they're canceling shippings. We can see without Asia they're canceling shippings. To be more specific, there's a little chart here that talks about, for example, capacity reductions out of China in February 2020. Carriers have announced further blank sailings in the coming weeks. Weeks. This is not slowing down. Global trade is not getting better. Global trade is getting worse. Yeah. So in the coming weeks, look at this. So this right here, this AMNO, this stands for North America. So shipments out of North America from Shanghai in the coming weeks are going to be canceled. Furthermore, 37%. Look here, in Xiamen, 50%. In Dalian, 50%. In Tianjin, 28%. In Ningbo, 45%. In Shenzhen, 31%. This is big, right? They're canceling more and more and more. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. So my point is, what's happening in the United States right now? We've got human malware, and it's going to start spreading like fire. So, the United States is going to be a place that's quickly overwhelmed. Our medical system is quickly overwhelmed. If our government is saying we have the best prepared medical system to handle this human malware, I would assume that to be we have the worst prepared system to handle this human malware. So, we're going to be devouring ourselves internally. There's one more problem that happens with this. And what is that problem? The U.S. military presence around the globe. Well, if this thing is spreading like wildfire around the globe, they're going to need to bring the military back for two reasons. One, just to bring the military back because this thing is spreading like wildfire around the globe, and it's a complete paradigm, a complete tectonic plate shift that we're witnessing. And then two, you got to bring the military back home to try and somehow invoke the martial law, which I think is less and less possible nowadays. Thoughts?
Man, so that's a lot of information there. So just let me touch on the first part about this, the closure and the cancellations of the freight system. And so it's to be expected because the leading producer on the planet is no longer manufacturing. And so if all the plants or whatnot, the primary plants in China are shut down, and it will probably continue. Therefore, there's nothing to ship. If there's nothing to ship, then that means that there'll be nothing for the world that is dependent upon China to consume. So therefore, not to really go extreme, it's just more so from a logistical standpoint, there's probably 45 days worth of goods that might be in shipping containers right now that's in route or at ports or whatever right now. And then once all those things are no longer readily available, therefore all the retail stores, all the big shopping mall, all that stuff will just dry up. And then at that point, it might be a scramble for those that are waiting to the last minutes to go out there and buy the core necessities. Then at that point, it's going to be like, okay, that's when all gloves are off, all hell breaks loose. And then as far as bringing the troops home will bring back the infection or the threat of a infection a lot. It'll increase the risk because all those military bases around the planet, they got to leave the base, get in some flights and come back over here, yada, yada, bringing everything with them as well. So I'd imagine when the U.S. forces get back, or if they are even brought back, they're not going to really want to go to work because at that point, the primary concern for majority of people will end up being their own health, not their finances, not their work. It's like, can I survive if it gets to that point? So I don't see people really being willing to accept a paycheck to put their life in danger. That's just me.
Yeah. I don't think that the martial law could work here either, because, like you said, people are going to be concerned about taking care of themselves and taking care of their families. And the military specifically says, and actually, let me pull this up because I forgot to mention this a while ago. But like when you go off that United States Forces Korea thing, they got a little facts down here. Mm-hmm. And listen to this, right? So let me see this fact here. Who is responsible for the care, transportation, and security of the personnel in self-quarantine? It's the responsibility of the U.S. service members' chain of command. They're going to be busy just trying to deal with human malware on their own, right? The U.S. military is going to be having to deal with human malware on their own. So trying to enforce martial law when they're trying to just maintain a military standing force, that's just enough work in and of itself. Yeah. And here's why I'm going to this global trade thing again, because it really is accelerating, and we're seeing that, and we've shown that with several different articles that it's been a slow progression over the last couple of years, and now it's starting to really pick up speed in earnest. But we were talking about, this on Rethinking the Dollar, that tourism is collapsing now too. And let me show you just a couple little quick things about tourism to show why tourism is collapsing, because my overall point here is this. Here's my overall point. As these weeks and days and months go on, nations are slowly isolating themselves. So first, it's, the trade and stuff has stopped because the factories literally just stopped abruptly. But now, as people realize this thing is spreading out and it is not in fact contained, but it is in fact an emerging pandemic, well, they're traveling less and less and less further from home, right? And now they're starting to cancel stuff outright. So here is just this one little article that I put up yesterday morning, and this was just talking about, can Los Angeles casino, entertainment, and convention industry survive a COVID level, human malware level, a community level outbreak? The point there being in Macau, which is the Las Vegas of China, their revenues are down 87.8% just in the month of February. Yeah. So tourism is in fact plunging, and it plunges where you have the most problems first. So think about like Italy, right? I mean, people aren't going to be going to Italy. That's a major tourist destination. And France, right? As a matter of fact, just fresh off the presses, Italy just canceled all of their public schools and all of their public universities throughout the whole country.
I saw that. So watch this, but they canceled it for 2 weeks, as if like 2 weeks is that... Yeah. That 14-day window to where they think should die down or not spread really effectively. But, it should have just been indefinitely, because there's no time frame to how severe could actually continue to develop in that country there. So 2 weeks makes it sound like they're being responsible. They're trying to get ahead of everything. But once again, now you have kids, college students, young adults now no longer having a place to go for that 8-hour whatever stretch of time. Then what? Like, as parents, it puts more strain on you to, what are you going to do with your kids now? How can you keep them active? You have to keep them busy. You still got to keep them safe. They can't go outside, really, and not in Italy right now, I would assume. So, once again, it's just more disruption that, is probably not something that they consider when they say, 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like, what about all the foreign students, right? Like, I mean, a lot of Americans go study abroad in Italy. That's one of the destination places. But just talking about the global trade, and then there's also a global shift. And here's why I'm coming into that nuclear option one more time. Then I'll wrap up, and we'll maybe take some phone calls here.
Yeah.
As far as the global trade goes, or as far as global tourism, we're seeing a collapse in tourism, but now we're also seeing a shift in attitude, because what I'm showing here up on the screen right now is, there's this cruise ship that's sailing around. It's called the Sun Princess, and it doesn't have any confirmed cases of human malware on it. And it's trying to dock at Reunion Island. And what's happened? It's being met with protests. They're like setting fires in the street, and they're throwing rocks, and they're having like little skirmishes here, because they don't want any of these passengers on this cruise ship coming off and going around the island doing these touristy things, even though there's not one confirmed case. Here's my point with that, and here's how I want to tie it into global trade. Right now, it's people, right? We don't want these people coming here. Right? Yeah. We don't trust it. There's human malware spreading. But pretty soon it's going to be like, we don't want anything from that country coming either. So it could also end up that way where, if it's like, how long does this thing last on surfaces? I don't know. Do we really want to import this fresh Alaskan crab from Alaska if we don't know what's exactly going on overnight? You know what I mean? The point is that there can be this social stigma that is brewing on the people side, but it could also spill over into the trade side. Thoughts on any of that, Mike?
So yeah,
That even makes sense?
no, it does, and so I think right now this human malware is an intentional economic disruptor and monetary system reboot mechanism like that. And so it's becoming quite obvious now that once confidence is lost, there will be no normal activity on a day-to-day basis. Therefore, everything that has been considered normal is no longer normal. So everyone will have to make some adjustments one way or another in their daily activities, in their daily lives, and everything of that nature. Therefore, it's going to impact, businesses and employment and all those things. And then once again, to issue the reboot, central banks now are about to do everything they can to try to keep confidence, but it's not a matter of really keeping confidence, because confidence is in just the mere fact of your watching, being cautious of your health, not necessarily your finances at some point. And so everything is interlinked and working according to the overall plan. I think, like, if we are of the mindset that this is a strategic plan done on purpose, then I think everything is unfolding timely. Now it's a matter of how severe can this human malware actually be. And so, like, if this is a malware where it's intentionally created to do what it's doing now, how do the powers that be actually reel this in? Like, okay, you clean out everybody, you give a clean slate to the banking sector now, because all the retirees are no longer present. So you wipe away all those obligations now, then you begin starting over. It's easier to throw out all types of suggestions of electronic currencies, automation, robotics, and whatever. We got to, we're going to put robots in the factories first because they're still contaminated. So we're going to put them to work. So literally, then on the other side of this, when things die down, if it gets to that point, could be a whole new world. Yeah. In a sense, because nothing will look similar like it did yesterday. Yes. In a sense.
Yes, exactly. And I gotta break out the tinfoil actually real quick, Mike, because
all right, my friend, go ahead.
You said what did you say? You said, how does this end, or something like that. I think you said that. Let me put on this tinfoil for a second. If this is a bioweapon, Mike, this is a bioweapon, then you would have to assume that they, we're darn sure that they have a working vaccine before they unleash this thing. Because, it's like we were talking about the other day, once that animal's out of that bag, it's a wild animal and you can't control that wild animal. So you would want that vaccine ahead of time. That means they have it. How does that mean that they have it? That means that they did all the, clinical trials. But let's not get it twisted. Those aren't like real clinical trials. Those are the people that are underground. Right? That's who they're experimenting on, the humans that are underground in these tunnels that reach across the U.S. So that's the tinfoil hat, and it ties into my Hollywood theory. But I didn't even want to go down that road, but you just brought up how does this end? And it ends with population, depopulation, and the people who are behind it and the people who are important having access to the vaccine if they have not already had it anyway already. So
so watch this. So since we got the hats on, let's go down that road continuously. So I sent you you see that message I sent you about that book that gave a great insight into the whole concept of it 30 years ago. So my personal opinion is that this current malware situation, here's the thing. I'm assuming we all can agree that this is not a natural mutation of SARS or anything of that nature, because it goes a lot deeper than that. I've heard people talk about it. It's equipped with all types of things in it, so it has a life of its own in a sense, but it's designed. And so along with designing that type of weapon, if it is a weapon, you have to have something on the other end to neutralize it. Like it's no way of creating no one in their right mind, no scientist. So this is probably some of the brightest minds on the planet were in that lab in Wuhan. So here's the thing. First, why would a human being ever create something that could wipe out the planet outside the nuclear bombs, whatever? So whoever funded this knew what they were doing. They knew what they wanted, and they got it. How it got out, I doubt, a scientist who created or a lab person who was experimenting with this particular vial was actually careless enough to let it fall or whatever to where it leaks out like we see in the movies. So no doubt that vial or whatever was taken out of the lab. And all that probably took was a smidget to just be put into the fruit market or put into some innocent person's coffee or whatever. Bam. One person, two people, exponential growth, 1,000, 10.
Yeah, and it does take so tiny bit. You remember a couple years ago when Kim Jong-un's brother was killed in the airport, assassinated, and it was literally like these two like Malaysian girls or somewhere from Asia, like these, I think they were actually like prostitutes or something like that. But they like hired these two girls, these two call girls in like Malaysia or somewhere. at the airport, right? And then Kim Jong-un's brother was walking through the airport, and they literally just are walking, and he's walking this way, and they literally just touch him on the nose with a napkin, and like seconds later, he's dead on the ground.
Whoa,
So yeah, when you talk about it just takes a smidgen, yeah, I mean, with the way the bioweapons and poisons and all this stuff are working, yeah, it really does just take a smidgen, and it happens like that. The problem is genetic mutation. How have they set up the vaccine to deal with genetic mutation of this thing? That's the problem. But we're kind of getting off base here, so I guess you'll
good.
me
So,
back.
but no, that was good though. So once again, so for those that might be watching, not knowing what we're doing, what we got the hats on for, when the hats come on, we go way out left field. So you never know what's going to come. But yet at this point, we all realize that anything is possible. So I don't really play into the idea of conspiracy theories. If it's even conceivable by the human mind, then it's something that someone out here is working on. And as we see, somebody's put something out in the air, because I don't believe in one way or another that there's been some type of bacteria beneath the surface that got loose and hit the markets and got into some bad, come on now. Like, okay. So phone lines are open. Let's get a call in. Anybody out there in the medical field? I'm curious. I want to hear some people out there in the medical field. We got about 300 plus people watching. Someone out there is in the medical field who's witnessed some things, heard some things. Mm-hmm. Any things you guys want to inform us on or inform the community, give us a call, because we need to hear these things so that we can prepare and better understand what we're up against. And so phone lines are open, and also in the chat, highlight at Silver Doctors, and we'll make sure we touch on your comments if we can.
Yes, that's right. Because, you had also briefly mentioned that central banks are ready to throw money at this, right? And yesterday we had that 50 basis point rate cut. Silver, you can get an ounce of silver in your hand, just one of them, an actual official coin for less than $20. That's one of the things I said in my article this morning is they're about to start throwing lots of 20s, monetary stimulus and fiscal stimulus, and you can get an ounce, a coin in your hand for less than $20 over there at SD Bullion. That's a heck of a deal. I just wanted to point that out because I wanted to talk about something else I wrote in my article today, but I don't know if we'd have to put the hats on again. But let's see if we get a call instead.
All right. So as of now, no calls.
Okay.
So we'll start that subject matter. If we get a call, I'll pause you. We'll get it in, and we'll finish up.
Okay. So I got to put the tinfoil back on for this one, Mike.
All right. Let's go.
I didn't plan today's show to be like this. This is just kind of how it's ending up. So, what happens if the United States ends up being the world's leper colony? We move to a one-world government, and everybody bugs out to the ghost cities in China. Of course, they will be effectively quarantined and tested, but these would be coronavirus-free zones that basically restarts the world, reboots the world with the new monetary system, and now with the new superpower, which isn't like the United States and kind of artsy and kind of free-flowing, but is more scientific and rigid and authoritarian and communist. Did any of that make sense?
It does. And so when you threw that out earlier to me, I was like, okay, that's definitely possible, because I was always of the mindset that the ghost cities are not by the accident. Like, there's no such thing as accidents when it comes to how I believe and how I've been figuring out how, the Chinese think. They think ahead. So I would imagine, they're not really caught off guard with much. And so I do believe that they are the ones that could have initiated this human malware. So it'll speed up the process and issue a reboot, and the reboot will be accepted around the world because of this current health scare. So it'll make it easier to roll out that game plan that was already set in place, and that includes those ghost cities that were built utilizing the last 10-year expansion of funny money the Federal Reserve created. So they took all those reserves, built cities with it, and even expanded their own balance sheet building that stuff for the same purpose of preparing for this future economy that they're going to be the leaders of, I believe. Mm-hmm. And so as far as the world flocking into there, I'm not too sure if I would be excited to, they sell them as the cities are virusless. Like, we've figured it out. The virus can't come in. We have silver this, silver that, lights, whatever. I still personally wouldn't want to go there because it's the nation itself. Like, there's no freedom whatsoever, that region. So I would take my chances here, me personally. But
That's right. I said in mine that would mean that I said this morning in my article, then that would mean that China would turn into the land of the virus-free and the home of the obedient. So instead of the land of the free and the home of the brave, you got the land of the virus-free and the home of the obedient, because they're complete and total submission to the Chinese authority there.
Yeah. So that's not funny, but that's real life.
We got a call,
we don't have a call. So obviously nobody wanted to talk to us today, but
think about it, right? Because if this is a war, right? What happens in war? What happens in Baghdad? We got the green zone, right? What's the green zone?
Yeah.
That's the safe zone. So what are the ghost cities in China in this new war against human malware, this global fight against human malware? The ghost cities in China are the green zones. They're the safe zones. They're the malware-free zones.
Yeah, now watch this. As you're talking, Chris mentioned in the chat, he says governments of Alberta made an announcement that people should have supplies for 2 weeks. Most stores sold out of toilet paper around here. So once again, if that is an official statement, Chris, appreciate you for sharing that.
Yes.
2 weeks. Like, where do you get the 2 week time frame? So Italy shut down school for 2 weeks. Government of Alberta says 2 weeks. So it obviously is a coordinated event or coordinated timing that's been given to us of 2 weeks. So once again, 14 days. What does 14 days actually mean when you have global supply chain that has come to a halt? You know what I'm saying? So
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And in addition, what we went over on Monday, right? There's that one thing in the Chinese press that talked about these people were asymptomatic for 30 days.
Yeah.
Right? For 30 days. The people that were tested confirmed outside of Wuhan. Remember that guy's buddy from the video?
Yeah.
So
yeah, believe what you want, but yeah, definitely it's always good to keep your antennas open and receptive to alternative forms of information and then process it all according to what you feel best for you and your family. So
yeah, so time's running out to prepare for this. It's too late to buy the mask. It's probably too late to buy any kind of the alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Next things to go, in my opinion, are going to be the disinfectant wipes and the Lysol and those kind of sprays right there. But then it's just going to start seeping everywhere into society, right? Then it's going to be, socks and underwear. Then it's going to be, something electronic related, because electronics is taking a huge hit here. If people need to, because the world's going to go on, and as long as the power grid is up, right, people are going to be, consuming and on the internet and using electronics and things like that.
Yeah. So yeah, my thing is, like, when it comes to the level of priorities for your necessities and the luxury items. Like right now, more people should be conscientious of focusing on the necessities. Now it's a matter of, what quality of life do you want to sustain? So here in America, we've been living on the high hill for a very long time. So we don't know what it's like to dial back from consumerism and focus on productivity. Right now is a good time to begin the Made in America slogan now. Like, we need to figure out how we can use our ingenious whatever. Anyway, go ahead.
No, you're doing good, because that brings up a great point. About, does China actually need us? Well, we're broke, Mike. This whole country is broke, right? So, what do we give them? We give them worthless paper. Heck no, they don't need us, because we can't even afford the stuff that they give us anyway, right? You see what I'm saying? So yeah, so you just sparked that thought on me, so I appreciate that. So
low blood pressure says he's trying to call in, but so the phone should be good. I haven't missed a call. So it says silver stackers can make sanitizer for years. Colloidal silver, cheap and easy for us. We can make bank of that. Yeah. So my thought was, and so I remember you mentioned a while ago about how back in the olden, yesteryears, people used to put silver dollars in a milk. You know what I'm saying? A milk, and it kills bacteria or whatever. And so right now, I'm interested to see some of the technology that comes out from silver, like some of the colloidal silver, all the properties that got put into those metals. I think could definitely be utilized now in a very creative sense. So one thing came to my mind. I don't know if this is scientific or not, but I'm thinking like have some silver in your pocket. Every now and then, just rub it in between in between your hands. Like, I don't know if it's good for nothing, but I'm thinking like you rub some silver, it gets hot. I'm assuming them chemical properties will definitely do something in your hands for some sanitizer's sake. I'm not a medical professional, so don't quote me on that. But
yeah, no, exactly. I mean, why over the course of history was silver what was decided upon to be silverware, right? I mean, there's a reason that the stuff that's in contact with bacteria growing food is made out of silver, right? And that we decided that that's what it would be, thousands of years ago. They might be calling it on my phone because, I don't know, the way Microsoft has this app is horribly designed on Android. So, like, even though you force close it, because I see it ringing on my end, I don't know which phone line you're on your end.
So have you saw some calls on your end?
I think so, even though I haven't even opened the app. So
I haven't got any on my side. So So it is what it is. But
Yeah. We'll
we
take
tried.
one if I get a call in. We'll take one, and
Yeah.
if someone wants to call, I think it popped up on mine. We'll see if it'll do it again, which is total Microsoft invasion of privacy, right? Because I didn't open that app, right, and I force close it, and it still comes up, right? So that's
So somebody's listening.
yeah.
And so here's a question here from a while back. So I think this might be what low blood pressure might want to talk about. But he said, has the World Health Organization actually labeled this current situation a pandemic yet? And so has it officially been labeled a pandemic, or are they still saying that it's mild, it's containable, don't panic? Like, I haven't been following the World Health Organization. So what do you hear?
Yeah, I can't remember if it's been pandemic or not. If they have, they hadn't. I got the phone call. Here we go. I'm going to try and answer this. Here we go. So, hello, caller. This is Silver Doctors Live. You're on the air. What's your name and where you calling from?
Hey, Paul, it's low blood pressure from Corpus Christi, Texas. You guys sound lonely today.
Yeah, we're lonely. We haven't heard your voice in like 3 or 4 shows now. So, what do you got for us today, low blood pressure?
I was just in the bunker, I just want to report in my area, the panic shopping hasn't really happened yet, People are still in denial. I had a lady the other day tell me, well, the CDC says you shouldn't buy masks. I almost slapped her in the face. I couldn't believe it.
Don't slap her in the face, low blood pressure, because if you get in jail, that thing spreads like wildfire in there. So you don't want to go down for assault and battery, low blood pressure.
Good point.
I just remembered last week I had called and I said, when's it coming? When's it coming? It's finally here, guys.
It's finally here.
No longer Yeah, I put up my tinfoil sombrero. I retired it. I don't even need it anymore. It's all coming true.
Great. Well, that sounds awesome. I appreciate you calling us in to lighten up our day because it's been so many serious topics here for the last several weeks. So I appreciate you giving us a call and sharing that with us today, low blood pressure.
All right, guys. It's going to be all right. You just your money out of the system, and I think everything's going to be fine, It's just a few people are going to die. It's okay.
Yep, awesome. All right, appreciate the call, low blood pressure. And he's right. Everybody's going to be fine because, you're either going to get through it or you're not. And if you got gold, silver, and skills, then you got a fighting chance, right? If you don't have any gold or silver or skills, you don't really have a fighting chance.
Don't forget faith.
Yeah, faith.
Like faith provides hope to make it through tough times, to be able to look forward to a better day. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and remember, that's true. There are no atheists in foxholes. So we're about to see a lot of people coming up with a lot of faith here really soon. So It's amazing how that works, And like me personally, like there is no such thing as a vegetarian in the face of starvation either. So there's a couple truisms out there in the world, right? So
yes,
we're about to learn these things really quick. So Mike, that's all I got for today. Why don't you go ahead and sign us off here and leave us with something good or something hopeful.
All right. So I today I was actually listening and, just watching and staying in tune to a variety of subject matter. And so I was watching a motivational video in a sense, and it talks about how science is now confirming things that I already knew was true and from a biblical standpoint. So one of the things I want to leave people with is that, in Proverbs, it talks about life and death are in the power of the tongue, and those that enjoy it eat the fruit thereof. And so like right now, watch your words, watch what you're saying, watch what's coming out of your mouth, because you are somehow, some way playing into it psychologically on the worst case scenario. So instead of walking around saying like, prepare, the world's coming to an end, say, God's got me. He's going to see me through this. And so me personally, I know the Lord has all this under control. That's why I'm not panicking or whatever, cautious, but I ain't panicking. So watch your words in this day and age. You want to speak optimism as opposed to pessimism, and you'll feel better and it'll help your day. That's all she wrote.